11th edition of the MSP Initiative MSP Talk podcast. It is summertime, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everybody's buckled in and ready to rock and roll because it's going to be, I think, a pretty fast summer, but they always are. There's never enough beach weekends. I got some housekeeping I'm going to do, and then we're going to talk shop with our return guest on the pod, one Charlie Tomeo from Rewst. So here's all my housekeeping. We're going to get it done now, and then we'll get into the good stuff. MSPinitiative.com. It's where we put everything that we're doing, but got two things right around the corner. When I mean right around the corner, like literally in the next 2 weeks. So here we go. If you're headed to Prague, yes, birthplace of the Pilsner, for the Kaseya Connect Europe. Actually, both of us, I believe, are going to be in Prague here in a few days. We are hosting an MSP community block party. It is on the agenda in the app, or if you just happen to be in Prague and you're an MSP, please join us. All of this is at mspinitiative.com. Totally free as an MSP to join us. It is a community event. And it's right in the middle of Old Town. So we're excited to come back to the scene. It's been a couple of years since we've been in Prague. And then we come back home into the US and we turn around, we go to Nashville, right down Broadway, where all the fun stuff is. And we are at our second year for the Flow conference, hosted by our friends from Rewst. Perfect timing. So if you're headed to Flow, we had a great time in Tampa last year. Nashville looks great. The hotel conference is a block off of the main drag on Broadway, and we're hosting an MSP community block party at Flow. So check that out. Again, if you're in the greater area, in Nashville, and you're not already coming to the conference, but you want to join this, you're more than welcome to join us. It is a community event. We rented a 4-story venue. There's plenty of room. So we're looking forward to having everybody there. So all of that's on mspinitiative.com. Times, places, dates, locations, venues. It's all there. You can register. It's real easy. There's all the housekeeping. And we're moving on. Charlie, welcome back to the show. How you doing today, my friend?
Good, George. Good to see you.
Absolutely. Always happy to see you. How's you excited for your, what is it, 8-hour flight to Prague?
I think I got it. I got a connector, so it's a little bit more, but that's fine.
All
I'll,
good,
I'll
man.
I'll do some reading, catch up on some stuff, and that will be a busy week. Like you said, next 2 weeks are a bit crazy.
Yeah, kind of worried about the whole new Europe EES entry exit system thing. Like I guess we got to go through this whole scan your passport, do your fingerprints, like global entry, basically.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. I have run into it. It really depends on if the systems are up and running
Mm,
and who's running it, but
right.
they will not be rushed. Let's put it that way.
Well, for anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, if you're from out of Europe and you're headed into Europe, Europe has put a whole new tracking system in places for third-party passports. They've gotten rid of all the stamps. It's completely electronic, but it's super new. There was originally supposed to be the ability for you to register ahead of time, but apparently that didn't get online before they launched it. So you got to like literally stand in front of a kiosk the second you enter into one of the airports in the borders, especially if you're connecting, right? This is kind of problematic because if there's a backup, you're not going to be able to, get onto your connecting flight to the last leg until you finish going through this EES registration. So if you don't know what we're talking about and you're headed there for next week, Google it so that you know what you're walking into. But it is a thing, and hopefully it's not as bumpy as I've heard in other places. Um, Charlie, last time we talked, it's been about a year since we've had you on the podcast. Lots have changed. AI, is like pretty much every billboard now. It used to be cybersecurity, now it's AI. I know that you guys will probably be talking about this at Flow in a couple weeks, because automation and AI somehow like I don't know get jammed together into like this gray conversation at times. What's your position, right? Like obviously you've seen you're living it on internally. You're hearing MSPs talk about it. I wasn't there. I don't think you were either. But at the PAX 8 event this past week, it was pretty much the entire conference. Might as well have just been. Sounds like it should have just been called AI Con. Um, it's been now a couple years of it though, right? Like, what are you
Yep.
hearing from the MSP community on like, is this viable? Is it real? Like, what's actually going on?
So I think most of what I'm hearing is they're counting on us as vendors to help guide them. I don't think that just throwing AI in front of everything is going to be helpful to them. I've heard that even specifically with what we're doing and how we're involving what we do to support the community. So we're still in automation, automation first. And I'd say the other thing is that, this isn't going away, right? So this isn't like everything that we've come up against. You've been in the sandbox for quite a bit, right? We come up with these buzzwords, and then as vendors, we figure out how do we market that we do that. And so I think it's just one of those things that we have to be very upfront what we do, but we also have to lean into it. It's not going away.
I can't help but, I mean, we all watch it for various reasons, the online keyboard forums, right? The Facebooks, the Reddits, the Slacks, and the Discords, all that stuff. There's a lot of people, uh, some people call it vibe coding, some people call it, just playing, right? But bottom line is they're connecting on the fly a lot of this new stuff, right? They sign up for an account, they plug it into their PSA or their RMM, and off we're in the laboratory doing things. What's your view on that? Because it seems like people are maybe not as worried for some reason that like they're just plug it and go, right? I guess, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, this got to be a huge risk, right? I mean, if you look at, we went through this with the bring your own device,
Mm,
right? People fought that. Certainly, if you were in any type of government agency, if you work for a big corporation, they tried their best to stop it from happening. And then, so I think, we're definitely a lot of early adopters in our space. So I think a lot of people are running and doing it. The one thing that we're doing at Rewst is certainly putting security paramount. Security, privacy laws, all the things that we know we need to do as we go and build this out. Those are the things that we're also going to focus on, as well as making sure that we're giving you a good offering. Because, like you said, it is very risky. I mean, even the stuff we use internally, it's very specific of what we're doing, how we're like how we're monitoring what people do. The other risk you do have, I don't know if anybody's figured this out yet, but we see all these horror stories on the Reddits and everything else, how somebody got a huge bill that they didn't know was coming,
mm.
right? So that's the other thing I'd say for MSPs, for vendors alike, is make sure you have some controls around that, because this is, I think everybody on that would listen to this would understand this. It's like when we used to pay for usage on cell phones. Everyone got that one surprise bill that they decided to talk to their buddy or their, significant other way too long, and all of a sudden it was like a $700 bill at the end of the month. This is not going to be one of those things. This could be thousands, depending on what you're doing. So I think there's a bunch of things that and principles that I think that uh, they're going to want to look at in doing that. I know that that's some of the things that we're looking at as we're building out our solution out and how we make it, I'd say, more AI enabled. And, we'll talk about a bunch of that stuff. I'm excited to see Aaron's keynote. He's already working on that. So anybody that is going to be there, definitely make sure you don't miss that. If you're out on Broadway, I'll probably find you. Make sure you get there in time, maybe just in time. But I think those are the things, George. This is happening. Everyone's do it, but got to be put some controls around it.
Yeah. I can imagine, and like I lived the MSP life for 20 years. Um, Getting a call from your customer and they're like, "Hey, I'm trying to sign into my API account for this AI platform. I just need some help to log in." You're like, "Whoa, whoa, what are you talking about?" You know what I mean? Like, talk about shadow IT. I mean, we're talking about the MSP doing this. What about the customer of the MSP? I mean, that changes it even worse, I think.
Well, that's changed a lot. You see if what, what's gone on and it feels like a lifetime ago, but once everybody went fully remote during COVID, a lot of what the MSP did, which was truly, be that IT staff, these guys just started downloading any SaaS product they could get a hold of. And
Mm.
so they probably had more non-managed things in their business um, that just didn't add up, and nobody was doing any with them. Like again, no controls around them. I think we've done a good job as an MSP community of like looking for those things, looking for those opportunities to help and make those better. But yeah, definitely got to be paying attention to what we're doing there, and that also leads into some of that security stuff and some of how automation works is just making sure that uh, we're doing it the right way. So everyone
What?
gets excited.
Yeah, that's fair. What do you what do you tell the people that say it's still like I'm using these tools to help me get to the end game because it's too difficult to build out these steps on our own, and or I just don't have the resources internally who's more of a DevOps or developer focused person. They're really just like a technician that kind of back their way into the chair, right? Of the internal tools and trying to connect all this together. I mean, what do you tell the person that says, "Hey, I'm just using this to speed up my adoption"?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of what we're running into, and we ran into this ourselves, we're around for about 4 years where we went GA. I think it was definitely, you look at, I'll give a shout out to like MSP Geek. Like a lot of those guys got really stuck into it. They're techies. But we've had to evolve ourselves. So we came out with something we called Robo Roosty.
Mm.
Um, just love the stuff that the techs come up with. And you could build now using our platform in native language. You don't have to know how to code. But what we're doing is we're putting the guardrails around it for you as well. So we're not putting you in a position where you could do damage.
Okay.
So that's where I think it's a big help. And it's always interesting to see when you get a phone call from your business MSP business owner and they tell you they built and they have no technical background, right? But they're building stuff out. They're building things for billing reconciliation, things that they know they specifically want to help their business. Uh, at least it makes you feel like you got something, right? You're doing something really good for the community. You're helping them. But again, it's still, you could, because they're coming through our platform to leveraging the AI through a platform, you're able to control what they could do. You don't have to give them access to everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like driving on the road, no guardrails, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're there to prevent you from going off the cliff. So it's definitely I definitely my personal opinion, we're still in the wild west, of this whole landscape. Like this whole, hey, every day's a new thing. I mean, if you just watch the feeds, Charlie, like the baby version of what we were hearing for the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, like the, hey, they're going to find vulnerabilities now that have been in these products forever. And guess what? Every day that's happening now, right? 0 day
Yeah.
this, 0 day that. I was just reading this morning a fully patched Microsoft Windows machine still, could have this, and this happen. And I'm like, it's almost like Pandora has been opened now. And how do you even catch up before somebody does something bad?
Yeah. And I think that's where we honestly, we have to communicate. We have to work together. It's the reason why, even what we're doing with our event, we have what you may deem competitors coming. Like we want to be able to, know that when the MSPs walk in the door, that they can look into, they can look at all the different solutions to solve some of their problems and hopefully rely on, what you believe is the experts and the people that are focused on that to help.
Yeah.
Because it's, you hit it. It's rough out there. Everything that we assume is going to happen, usually happens. It's usually worse than we even could think of what it could be, right? It's always something else that we wind up seeing out there. So I think it's just making sure that we're all, good citizens, we're all working with one another, we're all helping one another.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's where the community part really comes in. And I think that we sometimes forget about that, but like this is probably too much for any one person or organization to tackle. It's just moving too fast.
No, it is. Yeah. And that's why, like you see, there's it doesn't matter what the economy looks like, there's still vendors popping up in the MSP space.
This is true. New ones every day, that's for sure. Plenty
Yeah.
of money out there. That hasn't changed. What you get for your money may be different, but there's that it's definitely access is there for sure. Um, so why Nashville? Why'd you guys move from Tampa? And you had a couple years there. There seemed like Tampa was a good place.
Yeah, I think it was good. I think, moving close to center, making it a little bit easier for people to get into town. I also think, it being Nash Vegas and not Las Vegas, is, I think it's better. It's a lot more manageable. We don't lose people. The other thing that we do is, when you, as you know, a guy that runs these events is, we want to make sure that the MSP comes, they are able to take some goodness away, but the vendors should as well, right? So, not having, not having too many distractions, I think helps, right? And just giving something, we have people coming from all over the world. I think, you know, how many times you're going to take them to Tampa, Orlando, some of these other places. I do think it's something a bit different, and
Yeah.
everyone seems to be excited about it. And like you said, we're really close to Broadway, and anybody that likes music, good place to go.
That's
And hot
that is plenty of good stuff there for sure.
and hot chicken. If you've never been, make sure you try the hot chicken.
Nashville hot chicken. Yeah, that is the thing. Did you I don't know if you knew, they just announced, I believe 2 weeks ago, that Nashville is hosting the 2030 Super Bowl.
No,
Yeah. So the Titans are almost done with their new arena football stadium. I think they're still calling it Nissan because they're the major like
yeah,
stadium sponsor. And of course, in the NFL, you build a new stadium with a roof.
yeah,
Sorry, Buffalo fans, because your new stadium doesn't have one. But to build a new stadium with a roof, you get a Super Bowl. So 2030, in comes to Nashville. Should be a good time.
yeah. And the other thing is, I'd say, I rely on, we have a great marketing and event staff. I think most of them, they're known in the space. So, always have them looking at to see what the next best thing is, and honestly, what we think is going to draw the right crowd.
100%. Now, it might be too soon. I don't want to spill any secrets. Is this going to be a multi-year, or we staying in Nashville after this year, or too soon?
I think it's too soon. I don't ever want to commit my team to anything. They're the ones that do all the hard work. My guess, it would probably be another year though,
Okay.
especially if it seems like everything seems to be going well. Selling out the event, selling out the pre-days, and certainly can't thank the MSPs as well as the vendors for the support that we've gotten. It's been, the last couple of years, it was, definitely, as you know, you've run these things, not the easiest thing. They made it a lot easier for us this year.
Yeah, no, I think I'm really excited for it. I think Tampa went really well last year, actually. I was pretty impressed. I mean, you guys spun up a new event. It takes time for that to build up. So, but I think you guys did it pretty quickly. And to your point, having people who have been around the space for a long time make it a little bit, more turnkey, feels polished.
Yeah, no, that's it. And then I think, just making sure we round it out with the right people, the right vendors. You know, no sense in us trying to do a party when you do them all, every other week, right?
Well, we are happy and definitely grateful to be working with you guys again on the block party. We do our best to make it fun. We definitely have plenty of these under our belt. Nashville's a cool spot. Looking forward to it. Flipping directions real quick. Do you think, like, let me just put a timeline to this. We're in midway through 2026. Let's just zoom out to 2030, right? That's a, reasonable reach into the future. What's your outlook on the MSP industry as a whole? Growing, dying, consolidating, all of the above? What's your gut feel on it?
I think for me, I'm going to bet on the MSPs all day. We saw this, like I said, we saw this during COVID. There were some of the people still working.
Mm,
I think there's going to be a big evolution now. I think, like everything else, as we change, as we evolve, people that don't want to kind of lean in a bit probably will either, just be happy with where they are, maybe not grow, maybe wind down their business. But I do think for the most part, everything, all the signs pointing to that they're going to evolve with it. They're definitely going to be more service based. Some of the things we talked about now, like we can't assume that everyone's going to be able to just figure this out,
mm,
right? You look at how much tech has hung around way longer than we'd ever think because people cannot move that fast. So it's definitely, even 2030. I mean, I think you're going to see some big changes, but I also think that most of the people that I spend time with are going to adjust their businesses to fit it. They may not call them MSPs anymore. I know we've thrown around MSPs, TSPs, all these, but at the end of the day, they're going to be the backbone on how we help certainly SMB and mid-market move forward. I don't think that stuff just goes away.
that's fair. Um, when you think about regulations, right? And like usually in our experience, the people who write rules and laws and frameworks and guidelines pretty behind, right? Like technology's moving so fast. By the time these guys catch up, it's generally a few years down the line. It's I was talking to a MSP from Dublin earlier today, and they brought up that the EU came out with their own AI regulation separate from anywhere else, right? Um, do you think that, here, I mean, specifically here in the US, it seems like they're trying to prevent all the states from coming out with their own rules. Like they're trying to not hold back AI. Flip to Europe, their rules are to actually limit it. Where do you think this goes from a balancing act standpoint? Because I think one of the problems that most MSPs have had historically is, hey, I'm just trying to get work done. I want to make my customer happy. I'm trying to do what they're asking me to do, but the rules, tend to, put a wrench into things.
I really think it depends on who you talk to. I've been in conversations with people. I won't share who they are because, it's their story to tell, but there are people that are very well respected in the space that have always been thought leaders that are concerned when we don't have enough um, basically guardrails around what we're doing. We've all seen it. Like I know if you're in this space, if you are not a sci-fi person, I'd be shocked, right? You at least watch some of it. Some of them more hardcore than others. There's, these crazy stories of like what could happen, right? What do we do with the robots? But you see that, George, and you see some of the things people want to do there. And then I don't know if you caught this article, it was probably a few weeks ago, that Chase Bank is opening up 160 new branches in the
Yes.
US.
Retail banking branches. Yes.
But with people
Mm-hmm.
that they feel like what they're saying is they actually want to come in and work with people again. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, my dad will be pretty excited because he still loves going to the bank. They don't give the free calendars away anymore, so maybe they'll bring that back. But I read that article. I'm like, it just seems the complete polar opposite of what we're trying to do and what we're seeing.
To that point, like over the last 18 months, maybe 24 months, we saw a lot of big companies lay off thousands of people, like tens of thousands even. And then all of a sudden, like in the last pretty much 90 days, you're hearing that they're rehiring a lot of people. Excuse me. So did everybody make a bet too soon on all this stuff? Because it just seems so like it's like a roller coaster. Down, now back up. And I even saw two articles recently saying that 2027 will be the year of rehire.
I think you're absolutely spot on. I mean, so I still have friends. I started out at least on the tech side in the banking world. I still have friends that stayed in that. Um, some of them have worked really hard. They've moved up the ranks, and they were told you need to cut.
Mm.
You need to cut because we're moving towards AI. Here was the problem. They didn't implement anything.
Hmm.
So they cut without actually having a solution to make up for the people they were cutting. So I think that's part of it. Uh, especially a lot of these bigger companies, they don't move as fast,
Hmm.
right? So I think that's another thing to look into. And then if you look at historically what a lot, anybody that's thousands of employees, it's a right size sometimes. Sometimes they just want to go in there, they want to clean house. Almost every time that I was at the bank, 70,000 employees, they'd cut maybe anywhere from 8 to 10,000 every so many years. And we hired most of those back within 12 months, at least the numbers, not the people. So it seems like history is repeating itself from that standpoint. And, I think, the other thing is there are still a lot of people like me, my kids call me a boomer. I'm not, just so we're clear, but that, you still like to engage with people,
Hmm.
right? I still talk to you. I talk to most of the people in the community by picking up the phone and actually having a conversation. So,
Ain't that a fact for sure?
so I think that's the thing. But I do think we'll probably see some start and stops with this stuff. I think it's probably not much different than we saw with the electric cars, right? Tesla built a computer and then built a car around it, whereas everyone else initially tried, hey, let's just put a plug in the Chevy, and now it's an electric car, right? So I think it's going to take some time for us to get where they actually need to be and get some level of a balance.
Speaking about big companies and false starts, this week, two like major companies rolled out kind of bad stories around this topic. I'll give you both of them. Starbucks had rolled out an AI inventory management system across all of their branches, and they just ripped it out and said that it was creating so many problems compared to the old-fashioned human being goes into the stockroom and just counts, that they killed the whole program. This was after a 2-year rollout. And then this other one will be interesting. Pizza Hut corporate pushed out an AI solution for order management and delivery management to all of their locations, including franchises. And apparently, it created so much of a problem that the franchises got together and just filed a lawsuit against Pizza Hut corporate, according to the news. You go read this, $100 million for loss of business and all sorts of other things around. Basically, people weren't getting their stuff through the
Wow.
system and on time, and it created havoc. And then like their sales went down, and and then it just created a cluster. So this can blow up on a large scale, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's it. Uh, George, right now, a lot of people want to beat their competitors to the punch by doing something. And I think we're seeing signs of that. Now, I don't think that means everyone should just chuck it in the bin and decide not to do it.
Hmm.
It's just maybe be a bit more methodical as we're doing it and moving forward.
To that end, McDonald's, another name everybody should know, they ran a pilot of an AI drive-through order taker about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. It was like a something like a 90 restaurant pilot. They ripped it out, and they just announced they're going to try again. This is their part two, pilot, if you would. So they definitely, I don't know if they went back into the lab, figured out a different way, or maybe technology progressed enough in that year or two that they want to try it again, and we know things are moving fast. So to that end, right? Like I think try hard, fail fast. Decide that it's not working, pull the ripcord. I don't know, but I'm just pointing it out. Like that was also in the news this week.
Yeah, I think it is everything in life's risk and reward. So if you, as long as you do that math first and you know what you're doing, great. Um, I think we'll see more of that. I don't think we'll see less of it, but I definitely, I've seen the power of what some of the stuff we're looking at, what we're doing. I mean, we've had, uh, this is the first time I think since I've been here where we have people that will, stop by our booth at a show and we'll build an automation for them right there in front of their eyes,
Mm, that
right?
is cool.
We have our SEs have changed the way they do demos. So as we're doing discovery, the SEs building in the background based on what what feedback you're giving them. So I think those things are really cool to see, and you'll see the evolution. But I do think putting some guardrails around it and making sure that you know exactly what you're looking for. Um, I think and prepare as best you can. But the attitude that you could fire half your staff today, George, because AI is around, but you've done nothing to actually do those people's work, probably not great.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely a message. And I would say the big companies are in a different position, but as a small company, everybody on your team matters, right? Like it's
Yeah.
felt. If you disappear someone instantly, you have a harder time dealing with that change than a larger company who has more people to handle.
Yeah, and I think for anybody that is, individual contributor working at vendor, MSP, wherever, right? Is I don't think it changes what my mantra's always been. When it's my turn to get fired, I'm going to make it the hardest decision somebody has to make. So whether AI is there or not, if that's who you're competing against, like you need to look at what you're doing, how you're doing it, and figure out how do you fit into it now. What's the new thing? Like I even look at like most of our team, they're very consultative from a sales standpoint. They're going to help you understand what you can automate, what you should automate based on your business. That may not be things that people know today.
No, that's fair. I like your positioning on that. I think a lot of people take a page out of that book. Let me flip directions real quick back to current events. Um, this is a la or via Jay McBain. I'm sure everybody's heard that name at one point or another if you've been around a while. He works for a company called OMDIA. OMDIA? Apparently says by Informa. So, a lot of names there. But anyway, one of the think tanks, if you would, in the industry. This was 2 days ago. Uh, Ninja One becomes the most valuable MSP platform after a 400 million Series C. Company value is now at 12.3 billion. What do you think?
I mean, I may be a bit biased because I've known Sal for a number of years. I remember having this conversation with him when he was thinking about this, right? He's this kind of serial entrepreneur, just, overall great guy. I think what he's done is him and his team have done a great job of not just focusing on one thing,
Hmm.
right? So it's not that they're only focused on the MSP space. They're focused on, kind of the ITSM side of it, making sure the IT department. So they're branching out a bit from that standpoint. But I think they've done a good job of making sure that they don't lose sight of each of those markets that they're going after, especially the MSP market. So you see some of the people that he's hired, you and I both know Paul Redding's over there.
Hmm.
Um, I see them doing some different things on how they, reach across the aisle to some of their partners, how they get in front of them. You know, You look at some of these numbers, they say they're crazy, but like who knows it, just follow the stock market. And if you want to drive yourself crazy on, what's worth what, right? And what stock's going to go up. So, but I think they've done a great job and they've tried to make it so that a lot of things that they do are in-house, kind of uh a la Kaseya a little bit, right? But they're building it, and I think the goal is to provide the most value that they can.
So just to give you a little bit more from Jay's post here. Um, so $12.3 billion valuation based on this round places them above Kaseya, estimated at 12 billion, ConnectWise estimated at 6.5 billion. However, even though ConnectWise and Kaseya retain leads in revenue and market share, Ninja One's growth over the last 12 months in the MSP space, 62.7%.
Yeah, because people have an option now, George.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you look at our buddies over at when you look at just how things have evolved, right? It used to be you had these platforms, you invested so much in them, and you could never leave
Mm-hmm.
because you built so much of your own intellectual property, and that's kind of gone away. And so it's opened up the door for uh, people to learn from some of those things, and we all learn from going on Reddit. So we all know, like, what people are happy about and what they're not happy about. We all get beat up on there, but we hopefully all learned. And but look, Halo came out of nowhere as well. Those guys doing a great job. Um, Ninja partners with them. So I think that's the other thing that's been pretty good is know what you're really good at. And if you don't, make sure you partner with somebody that's good.
Yeah, funny that you say that. So Halo, on the same chart here, right? It was like Kaseya, ConnectWise, Ninja. Halo's a little bit further down, but their growth percentage 36% during that same time period. So these, to your point, when you marry these two guys together, there seems to be a power dynamic happening.
Yeah, and I think what's happening is most people are just, either frustrated that they're not getting what they want.
Mm.
You look at, but I think everyone's trying to be in it, right? We see, rebrandings and, people talking about tech. I've been to, we both go to these conferences. So, everyone at least knows what to do. I think like everything else is not the bigger you get, the harder it is to move fast.
That's fair. That is age-old truth for sure. What's your, guesstimate on we've seen a lot of VCPE money now, right? Like Ninja's the most, recent example now, a couple days ago. But the market's changed since pre-COVID, right? 2019, 2020 to 2026. Seems like there's a lot more red tape attached to money. It's not that it's not available. It's readily available, clearly. But like what's involved in taking, funding or equity or a partner or financing, however, whatever vehicle you choose, like seems to be a lot more to it, in terms of steps you have to take, things you have to hit, metrics that matter. Did these guys just figure it out now that they've been in it for a minute, or is it just about percentages and interest rates?
I think I'll speak even from my experience just at Roost.
Hmm.
Aaron Chernin is another, serial entrepreneur, really, really just smart guy. I think he's genuine, he's likable, but he's a great storyteller as well. And so I think that's some of the differences. All that data could be the best data in the world and some of that, but now you have to do a bit more.
Mm,
You have to be able to showcase the vision, and they do have to believe that you have a visionary, and they do have to trust the visionary. And so I think somebody like Sal's done a great job. The Halo guys are a little bit different. God bless them. They're self-funded, so I guess I think they probably do fine anyhow, but they don't have to have those conversations. But I do think that's it. I think it's, building the track record, like you said, getting those numbers, but then also showing that vision because they want to be able to see what that looks like. You look at, I'd say certainly end of last year, beginning of this year, and even now is, SaaS companies took a beating,
Yeah.
right? They've been up a bit. I think they were up, some of the bigger ones. So that doesn't necessarily mean everything for all of us smaller vendors, but if you don't have a meaningful AI component um, to your product, I think valuations are not going to be what they were
Mm.
if it's just the SaaS only.
Yeah, 100%. As I mean, definitely still seeing a lot of excuse me. I don't know if it's an age out thing. I don't know if people just realized, hey, this is now getting harder. Do I still want to do this? Is it the right time? Seeing a lot of MSPs, still selling, right? Like they're deciding, hey, I've put a time in, 20, 25 years in. It's time for somebody else to take a try.
Yeah, it's interesting to see a lot of that stuff is going on, and it's not, that's become crowded, right? There's a lot of people fighting for those MSPs businesses.
Hmm.
But I do think some of it is they have nobody to hand it off to.
Yeah.
And I think the community's done a great job. And you could, talk about, like the folks at True Methods or Evolve, or, you kind of name it. Robin Robbins done a good job of that, like helping these guys understand and be more well-rounded business people.
Mm.
And now that they got there and they've gotten a lot better valuation, you know, like it's time to go.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely, would you say that it's a seller's market at this point because there's so many buyers, or is that maybe not
I,
stated well?
no, I think it is, but I don't think it's that simple. I don't think it's just, hey, I'm going to put my dilapidated house on the market and someone just has to buy it. Like maybe if you have oceanfront property, but I do think they're getting a bit doing their due diligence more as well. I think they know, a couple of guys that I knew from the Weber days. They're involved with that as well, and they're learning a lot, right? They know which business means well. Like, it's like hiring, right? If you're hitting 300 on your hires, I think, most people are going to be happy. If you're doing 500, great, but you're not going to get them all.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
So
fair.
it's just making sure that you have the framework that no matter what you buy, and I think that's what some of these guys done a great job is no matter what you buy, you're going to make money on it. It's just how much, right? Because we know from being on the vendor side, these guys do a great job of determining the different tool sets that they use, and they're getting volume pricing and so on and so forth. So there's easy margins that they could gain just by doing that.
Interesting. Yeah, the economies of scale, right? By having, more buying power, basically.
Yeah, you look at what's good. I mean, look at how, I definitely give credit where credit due. I mean, look at, what the Tim Conkle in the 20, and
Mm.
they've done a great job there of blowing that up from, I don't think it looks anything like what it used to look like.
Yeah, they've done, I think I said that, I thought they were up to like 49 acquisitions, if I read that the other week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fantastic. They got a great partnership uh, there. So, and obviously they have a good model. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to do that. So it's interesting to see. Guys
Yeah,
at Lyra, Lyra is another one. They just it's good to see what these guys have done, and then even a lot of the international market is doing it. So um, it's good. One of our biggest partners there, IT. I mean, they've got it down to a science.
definitely. I mean, they're a big one over there. Um, Anything that you're looking forward to on the back end of this year now that we're pretty much at the midway mark?
Me, I'm looking forward to seeing how things evolve here. Um, in the MSP community with, like I said, with some of these new vendors that are out there. Where do we land going into next year with AI? How people truly start to leverage it as we start to see some of the cream rise to the top a little bit. Which vendors are those going to be? And I'm banking on Rewst is going to be one of those top vendors. So seeing personally, just on a personal level, like where we are finishing out the year and then getting ready for next year.
Okay. Um, any regrettable travel stories so far this year? I know we all have them.
I have one, like all I know is if I get there safe, that's the bar set for me. So anything else that's extra, I have been in situations where I've wound up in some of the not best hotels, I'd say. It's always great when you get into a room that you could touch both walls just by standing in the middle of the room. But no, for the most part, it's been good. It's been good seeing a bunch of people, and I think things are going to pick up. So I'll get to see more of the community for the rest of the year.
That's awesome. Um, it sounds like you sold out of your event, unless if somebody came in last minute. You still got room, or
I think we have a handful left, and we're working on making some room too. So anybody that's interested can certainly reach out to me. Connect me on LinkedIn if you don't have my direct contact, and we'll see what we can do to help you out. But would love to have everybody come.
awesome. Guys, if you don't know where to look, Google Flow Conference Nashville. That'll give you all the information on the event. Definitely worth taking a look. I know it's only a couple weeks out, but it's the summertime, and Nashville is a cool place to check out. And especially if you have a business reason to be there, and I think this is a good one. Um, Plus, who doesn't like to network with everybody else to figure out what's actually working and what isn't? That's kind of how most people learn. It's at least how I
Yep,
learn.
me too.
Uh, Charlie, safe travels. Get to see you in Prague next week.
Sounds
And then
good.
obviously
Thanks,
Nashville the
George.
week after. And for everybody else, this session was recorded. You'll find it on mspinitiative.com under sessions. Hopefully, we'll see you out on the road and catch you on the flip side. Bye, guys.
Thanks, George.